Hey guys, welcome back to the Seven Figure Seller Summit. My name is Gary Huang. Today is day two, where the focus is all about marketing, branding, and PPC. I'm thrilled to have several guest speakers come on live. So I like to welcome Ritu Java. How's it going, Ritu?
Hey Gary, so good to be here. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And also we have Liran Hirschkorn. How's it going, Liran? Welcome.
Great, thank you. Happy to be here.
Awesome, awesome. And then special congratulations to Liran. He had his family just had a baby boy just a few days ago. So I'm amazed you are a
Just
like
just
a
yesterday, Gary.
just yesterday. Wow. Wow. So I'm super amazed that he's able to join us. He's a miracle man. I literally saw him. He is like literally balancing his work and his family. He has like his laptop in one hand and his baby in the other. So I'm just appreciative of your time, everyone, to come on. So this is a live Q&A, so I encourage you guys to ask questions. I mean, we have a wealth of knowledge from very experienced sellers and e-commerce experts such as Ritu and Liran. And so today's focus is all about marketing, branding, and PPC. So as people are coming in, and because this is live, if you can see us and you can um, just chat, just type in the chat your name and where you're joining us from. That would be great, guys. All right. So as we get started, I'd like to quickly just highlight what Ritu and Liran covered today. So Ritu really gave a masterclass on Amazon DSP. Right. So this is a little bit more advanced and how advertising with DSP can really take your business to the next level. So I encourage you guys to check out Ritu's session if you haven't already. And Liran's team member Mansoor gave a very in-depth training on advanced sponsored brands ad strategies to scale your brand and beat the competition. So we're looking at this issue from a number of different angles, guys. So if you have any questions about sponsored brands, DSP, or even sponsored products, I mean, now is a great time to ask to ask them. All right. And meanwhile, I'd like to ask to give a quick shout out also to Incrementum Digital and Liran and your team. Thank you very much for sponsoring the summit. You want to give a couple of say a few words about Incrementum and how you guys can help?
Sure. So we basically work with brands, specifically those that sell on Amazon, to help you scale your business. A lot of our core focus is on Amazon advertising, as well as DSP. And then we provide some solutions around that, mainly to also help our advertising clients, like listing optimization and creative services, as well as operational account management. We currently work with about 240 plus brands on Amazon, that's on Amazon. And we use a data driven approach to your advertising. And one thing I'll say is that Rita can attest to this too, is and what I'll talk about a little bit here is that advertising has gotten complex, or more complex, over the last year and 2 years, very specifically, and you will continue to see that happen. And you want to make sure that you're using great tools or people or software, because you're going to be left behind. And again, I'll talk a little bit about it if you aren't doing that. And for those that are, they're able to capitalize on it. So we could talk more specifically. You can follow my social media. We recently set up an Incrementum Instagram, and we have a LinkedIn account, so you can follow that. And usually I'm posting things that are happening, not just on ads, but in the Amazon space. And yes, obviously my own LinkedIn and Facebook is usually mostly Amazon related
Yes.
content.
Yes, I follow Liran as well. I mean, he offers a lot of breaking news, related to Amazon as well. So quite a resource. And also, you run your e-commerce mindset podcast as well, right, Liran?
Yeah. And I just had a interview. I haven't put it out yet. Over this past weekend, that's interesting. On a kind of totally separate topic, but one thing we have implemented in our own business in the agency this year is EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. And I brought on our coach to come on and talk kind of just what are the things that are holding people back. She was referred to me by another seller, and she works with a lot of Amazon sellers to really kind of talk from a business standpoint. What are the things that are holding people back from, from 7 to 8 figures? And hopefully I put that out in the next couple of days on the podcast.
Excellent. Yeah, I
So
think that's a great point. I mean, just as entrepreneurs, I mean, we can only do so much by ourselves. And, I have a business coach as well. So he really helps, kind of get me unstuck and kind of unlock that sometimes mindset that I'm stuck. Hey, you could be doing it this way, or you could be doing a lot more. Sometimes we limit ourselves. So I 100% I agree with Liran. That's so important. I mean, the mindset aspect, which is exactly what we covered in day one, right? All these different perspectives, these different sellers, what they're doing to unlock that mindset. So I'd like to also quickly welcome Emma Schermer Tamir. Welcome, Emma. How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Great, great. We are with Ritu Java and Liran Hirschkorn. So I'm glad you could join us, Emma.
Hello. Yes, I can only be here for about like 15 minutes, but
Okay.
I am glad to be here and hopefully won't disrupt too much with my popping in and out.
Okay. Where are you joining us from, by the way?
I'm in Las Vegas right now.
Cool, cool. Excellent. All right. So let's go ahead and get things started. So the theme for this year's summit is really, in my view, the Wild West of e-commerce in 2022. So definitely the opportunity is still there, guys. US e-commerce sales will cross $1 trillion for the first time this year. And prior to the pandemic, experts didn't forecast e-com would reach this milestone until 2024, which is a full 2 years later. So things are continuing to grow. We're also seeing a lot of opportunities on the exit side, selling your business. We're seeing multiples this year, 5x to even 7x EBITDA. Companies like Thrasio are really have been aggressive. So if you are at that point, it could be a good exit opportunity. And I'd like to take a moment to offer a quick shout out to Thrasio. They are our platinum sponsor at Seven Figure Seller Summit. We appreciate your support. And also, more importantly, I know that Thrasio is one of the more experienced buyers of Amazon businesses. And, they have a very experienced team, people like Casey Goss, and, they have a wealth of other experts in supply chain, you name it. So if you guys are thinking about exits, Thrasio is offering a free business valuation to anyone attending the summit. I mean, there's no commitment, and sometimes it just makes sense to, kind of know where you are, if you're ready, or maybe you're not ready. So I just like to quickly give a shout out to Thrasio again for their sponsorship. And if you are interested in a free business valuation, there's a link that I'm going to drop in the chat where you guys can check that out. All right. So coming back to the Wild West of e-commerce, I feel that right now there's definitely, the opportunity, but on the other hand, there's a lot of pitfalls, right? Like just like in the Wild West, someone could shoot you down. We're having all the recent TOS changes. We're learning that, the costs are going up on the PPC side. There's a lot of new ad options out there. Ritu gave a masterclass on DSP. Mansoor was talking about sponsored brands. I mean, it can be overwhelming, right? So we're going to get into Amazon PPC, guys. If you have any questions, we're going to get to that. But before we step into PPC, and I know since Emma's time is limited today, I feel like we have to look at something before we even step into PPC. We kind of have to take a step back because you got to have the fundamentals in place, right? You got to make sure your product is a 5-star product. And then you also have to have like a really solid product listing. So Emma today really gave a masterclass on 7 quick wins for killer conversions. If you haven't checked it out, I highly recommend you check that out. So Emma, maybe to kick things off, what are some of the key changes or key trends you're seeing right now in 2022 that's very important for sellers as they really want to optimize their listings for conversions?
So last year we started to see even more of it, and it's just continuing to build and build. And the essential nature of needing to really invest in brand, and what that looks like when it comes to your listing is your A+ content, your product images, even the voice that you're using through your listing, because that's one of the few tools that you have to really be able to stand out from your competitors. Amazon is unique compared to your own website, for example, where it's not just a captive audience and it's only your products there. You are right side by side with everybody else, and it is a simple click over to your competitors if you're not answering their questions, if you're saying the wrong thing, if you're not saying something. You know, what you leave out can be just as damaging as what you don't include. And so you need to be really considering the mindset of a customer who is going onto Amazon. They have a need, and they don't want to spend all day trying to figure out what product to buy. So not only do you need to help them feel secure that you are the right fit for what it is that they're searching for, but that you're also the best option compared to all of the other options out there. And so things like having really strong imagery that looks professional, that's eye-catching, but also using tools like what you really care about, what you're committed to as a business to connect on a deeper emotional level is a way that you can make sure that you're not just one of 50 other identical, you know, I don't know, chapsticks sitting by me. So chapsticks, what comes to mind, but it could be anything. It's very rare that you come across a product category that doesn't have a solid base of competitors already there. And so you really need to be thoughtful of how you're fitting into that conversation and how you can capture attention and interest, and continue to capture it if you're already doing well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love that example of the chapstick, right? I mean, there's like probably 100 competitors on that, but how are you going to stand out? And, you know, with the increasing competition, not only from, you know, just like small, you know, one man, one woman show sellers, but you're seeing, you know, not only the Chinese sellers, but also the aggregators getting in. And it's, you know, not to put down, you know, aggregators, but it's really hard to out Thrasio, right? So, I mean, they're really leveling up the bar. So I think, you know, it's even more critical now than ever to make sure your listing is well optimized. I love, Emma, everything you shared about all of the images and the case studies, and, you know, and also the things that sellers are doing wrong. I think there's a lot of low hanging fruit that you can snatch, right? And those little tweaks could lead up to big differences. So, so guys watching, if you have any questions about listings, like maybe your bullet points, maybe images, now's the right time, because Emma's gonna jump in a few minutes. So I wanted to make sure that we give you guys this opportunity to you know, get value from experts like Emma, like Ritu, and like Liran. All right. So quickly want to say a couple shout outs. Welcome to David Tsai. Welcome. And also Chinedu joining us all the way from Nigeria. Welcome. So we do have a global audience today. You know, I always say sharing is caring, guys. So, you know, the entrepreneur journey can be very lonely. You know, sometimes your family doesn't get it. Sometimes your friends really don't get it. So, you know, us here at the 7-Figure Seller Summit, we get it. So right now it's a golden opportunity. Maybe if you have a friend that's selling on Amazon, or they're thinking about getting into e-com, why not invite them to join us to kind of get some value from the live Q&A today, as we're with Ritu, Liran, and Emma. All right. So let's transition a little bit to PPC. You know, we talked about PPC in the beginning, and I feel like, you know, right now it's becoming even more and more important, because, you know, talking about launch strategies, talking about organic rank, I feel like PPC is like the common thread that's really interrelated, you know, through so many different sellers, and, you know, if they share the summit so far. And then we've seen that Amazon's ad division is exploding. I mean, I just saw recently on the news, they generated $31 billion in 2021, and they're the third largest you know, online advertising revenue, just behind Google and Facebook ads, right? And then you know, sellers are seeing CPC rising, and so many different options out there. So to kick things off, Liran, could you share with us, what are you seeing right now on the PPC? What are some new stuff that sellers should be aware of?
Sure. So everything you said, you might hear a little bit of background noise. I apologize for that. Everything you said is accurate. Cost per click has increased probably 30% or so in the last let's say year and a half or so. And it's gotten more competitive, and aggregators are spending more money, and also brands that traditionally spent money, off Amazon are spending more money on Amazon. Facebook's iOS issue caused people to move more money away from Facebook ads into Amazon. So yes, it's gotten Cost per click has gone up, competition has increased, which means you really need to get better in order to kind of stay ahead. It also means that your expectations need to change about what Amazon advertising can do for you. So people who come to me and say, hey, my tacos was 10% last year, or 2 years ago, that's my goal. I'm like, okay, but that was 2 years ago. Cost per click is not the same unless your conversions are increasing. It's hard to do that. So you need to kind of, for example, our average tacos across our clients is 13%. Used to be 10%. So it's increasing. In some categories, it's 20% if you're in consumables. And kind of like what Emma talked about is, if you are, the only two levers you have really is your listings and your traffic. And your listings help drive, organic and the conversions on your advertising. Some things that are coming, again, like I said earlier, it's going to get more complex, because one thing that's coming is there's an API now. We're in beta testing it with several clients now. Is called the intraday API. In fact, on my recent episode, this is live and is not going to have as much publicity as my recent podcast episode, but I had to delete some content off my recent podcast episode because I spoke about this and it was shared around at Amazon. But this is something that's coming out, intraday API, which means you're going to get hourly data through the API on cost per click, keywords at the keyword level, on placement targeting. So you'll literally be able to have now the opportunity to do real day parting, which up until now has not been really done based on data. Up until now, if you wanted to, using certain tools and software, you could say, okay, I don't want to bid. I pause all my ads between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. because I want to make sure I have budget in the evening, or I want to sell more on Sundays because I think that's when my customers are buying. But now you're actually going to get that data, and with good tools, you'll literally be able to go in and say between 12 and 2 p.m. I know my conversion rates are better, my cost per click is lower. Increase my budget during that time, get more aggressive. And that's something that's coming now. You're going to hear more and more about it. The intraday API. And in my opinion, right now, it's only through the API that's available, which in my opinion means if you're not using software, or you're not using an agency that's using software that has those capabilities, or that will have them very shortly, you're going to be at a disadvantage, or I would say you're not going to have the first mover advantage. So we've seen with Amazon, those that implemented video ads when they first came out, right? We were getting less than 10-cent clicks when video ads first came out. Then Amazon actually made the minimum click 25 cents because they didn't like it. And we're getting such great sales with video ads, and we're still getting good sales, but now the cost per click is about the same or even a little bit higher than sponsored products. You've lost that first mover advantage, at least in the US markets. So this will also be a first mover advantage. It's another kind of point to why you want to be in masterminds and why you want to be in places like this, because if you're not finding out about these things, then you don't have the opportunity to maybe take advantage of that first mover advantage. So kind of in full transparency, we're using Perpetua as a software tool. Perpetua is a great tool. They will have this intraday for their pro and enterprise accounts. The reason it's only certain accounts with certain spend, I think 10,000 maybe more spend, or 5,000 more spend a month, is because it costs more money to basically get hourly data. And so they need you to be paying at least a certain minimum monthly fee in order for them to be worth it to track that data. So this will be an advantage for us that are using that software, or for any seller that's using that software. Again, there's probably other tools out there that will have this as well. We're about to beta test it with 6 clients. And then I think the beginning of the second quarter, that's something that's going to roll out. And again, I think this will be a massive opportunity to better optimize your ads. And right now you need every edge you can get. One other thing that I would say is worth testing and playing with a little bit, to Ritu's conversation about DSP, is that, on the sponsored display side with Amazon, there's also a lot of features that were historically only part of DSP are now available in sponsored display. Not exactly the same. There's a lot more complexity and benefits to DSP done the right way. You can cross-layer different audience together. Can't do that with sponsored display. but I would recommend that you test things there, like audience targeting. Make sure you're doing product targeting there. We recommend at least 5 to 10% of your spend on sponsored display, about 20% on sponsored brands, including video, and about 70% for sponsored products. One thing you should play around with is VCPM, which is campaigns that are that you're paying per impressions. Now, there's pros and cons to this. There's potentially some cannibalizing of organic sales you could be doing, because something pops up on you're paying per impression, you didn't click on it. Did that influence you to buy the product or not? There could be some cannibalization there. But what we recommend is that you target not just your competitors, but you target kind of complementary products that wouldn't necessarily take away from, or organic sales, because people are not necessarily comparing that product to begin with yours, and less likely they've seen yours. So I would recommend definitely playing around with sponsored display and the VCPM model. Just recognize that depending on the targeting there could be some cannibalization, including retargeting. There could be cannibalization of over organic sales. And use the data that Amazon is giving you. The Product Opportunity Explorer is a great tool to get both search volume and to understand click share, and to be able to understand your market share. I have a post on LinkedIn, maybe going back a couple weeks, that talks all about the use of Product Opportunity Explorer to understand click share and kind of where you stand in the market. And lastly, Amazon is giving you more and more data. I predict they will give you more. And I think the storefronts have been more important. I highly recommend you work on those and continue to drive traffic there, because you can build followers now. There's a customer engagement tool that allows you to email those followers, and driving. I would recommend that you play around with the store spotlight ad, specifically on sponsored brands, because it forces the traffic to go to the storefront. You just have to make sure that you are targeting the right keywords. Broader keywords are kind of better for that. Maybe more exact keywords you might want to send to a landing page, but I recommend playing around with that and driving more traffic to your storefront and optimizing that. The storefront is the only place on Amazon that does not have your competitors' ads on it. I recommend focusing on that. There's a lot, obviously, but I believe if you're not staying ahead of the advertising space, you're a little bit left behind. Lastly, I think eventually Amazon will show you lifetime value, or maybe 12-month value of a customer, because if you have that 12-month value, you'll be able to understand really how aggressive you could be acquiring a customer. And especially if you're in a consumable product, but even in non-consumable products, there are some tools out there that allow you to better understand what your lifetime value is on a customer. One of them is nozzle.ai, possibly managed by Stats does that too. And understanding that will allow you to get more aggressive. And I think Amazon will show it to you, because Amazon wants you to be more aggressive and understand your lifetime value, so that you spend more money on ads as it becomes less profitable on the first sale to acquire a customer. So these are kind of all the things that are on my mind currently when it comes to ads. And DSP. I didn't get a chance to watch Ritu's talk today, but one thing I would say is, before you do DSP with Amazon, you should definitely talk to somebody that's very knowledgeable in the space, because I've experienced it myself. Before I had an ad agency, it was like 2017, 50 grand with a 1.0 return, meaning I lost money with Amazon DSP, because I didn't really understand that they were targeting a lot of top of funnel for me. So really important that you understand DSP and speak to somebody before jumping in.
Excellent. Thank you, Liran, for sharing that insight. I mean, kind of like the whole state of the Amazon PPC in like 5 minutes. So that's huge. Ritu, I like to segment to you. I mean, what are you seeing, from your perspective? What's new what's working. Can you share also from your perspective? Because I know that you're managing a lot of seller campaigns, and then you also help run Pluggable, which is an 8-figure Amazon brand as well. So I'm curious your thoughts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, everything that Liran said, this is like really interesting the way things are developing on Amazon with so much data that we're getting, all kinds of data, and almost has the effect of freezing people because they're like, what do we focus on? There's like so much. So I think one of the things that we do at our agency is try to focus on the things that can kind of relate directly to results. And so we've been seeing a few things that are really powerful that Amazon is kind of releasing now. Things like the search term impression share report. Now that's a really interesting report because it gives you impression share even before anyone has clicked on your ad. So the impression share report can actually give you data prior to what a search term report can give you. A search term report will tell you had so many impressions and so on for certain searches, but this is kind of a step before that. So we're trying to see how reports like that can be used to get as much of the market share as possible, because that's what people at the end of the day, that's what really matters. Because if you can uh, get in front of more people, then there's a higher likelihood of conversions there. So that's just one example, but then there's others like Liran was mentioning the product opportunity explorer. That's another great tool for finding out where how you're kind of dominating certain categories or not. And then another tool that I really like recently is the brand metrics, which is also part of the ad console at this point, which gives you kind of like a breakdown of the 3 stages of the funnel, the awareness piece and the consideration and the conversions. And we get a lot of data with comparison with peers. And so you can kind of see where you are vis-a-vis your peers, and you can kind of double down on where you have certain strengths. I would double down on what is really working, looking at conversion rates and stuff. So yeah, I think there's data, but there's also kind of actions that anyone can take at this moment with that data. And I think if people can go about it a little more systematically and not just kind of get overwhelmed with where to look and stuff like that, there's a lot that can still be done. Like there's so much lost opportunity or left, stuff that's left on the table for grabs that most people don't invest their time in. Things like maximizing their ad coverage. Like this is fundamental stuff, right? Making sure that you have every type of ad running. I guess people are frightened of creating a bunch of ads that would potentially spend a lot of money. And I just keep telling sellers when I meet them that spend and budget are 2 different concepts. They're not the same. You set up a budget so that you can allow Amazon to kind of get your ads in front of many people, but spend is what you spend at the end of the day when there's clicks, right? So it's a CPC model for the most part. So I think there's a lot that can still be done with ad coverage on Amazon, and if people can kind of systematically go about it. Just to give you an example of a systematic way of going about it, so we've got our own kind of software. We've got PPC Ninja software, but we also build a lot of tools with Google Sheets, and it's pretty easy to create those sorts of tools where you can measure things like how many of each ad type do I have for every SKU. So that's something that we do as a counter, or we kind of have like a spreadsheet that we run an entire list of campaigns, and we kind of quickly find out where the gaps are and kind of go and fill them up. The point being that there is so much opportunity still. If you could only kind of start to kind of fill in the gaps and maximize the opportunity that's out there, you're going to be improving your chances of, more sales and, better results and so on. Another thing that I'm noticing now, stepping slightly away from Amazon, is that a lot of people are paying attention to Google traffic, and there's new tools that have come up like Amped. We also use Amped, but we've kind of also come up with our own alternative of doing keyword level tracking through kind of bulk, bulk files through attribution and stuff like that. So, if you think of all those things, I think everybody's wanting a little bit more of the market share. So Google Ads being one more way of doing that. And then finally, coming back to kind of my topic for today, which was DSP, and I really kind of shared um, that DSP is not for everybody, but once you've maximized the opportunities that are out there on Amazon with sponsored display and video and everything else, then definitely look at DSP as an opportunity to get more of the market share, because not everybody lives on Amazon, right? There's a lot of people that don't visit it as often, and you can capture that market, and it's ready for grabs in a way. So yeah, I think those are some of the thoughts that are on my mind, and I'm just trying to make as many tools as I can that can help me find opportunities in the data that we already have access to.
Excellent. Yeah, I love what you shared about that. And especially, whatever it gets measured gets managed, right? So, even as simple as using a Google Sheet to measure how many different ad types you have for each SKU so you can identify, what coverage you have and maybe some gaps in the market. As well as DSP. One thing that I found very fascinating from Ritu's training today is that within DSP, you're able to target Whole Foods markets shoppers, like offline, like grocery store shoppers, with ads in DSP. I mean, that was kind of mind blowing to me, because like one of my products is like a coffee related product, and then if I'm able to target, someone that walked into Whole Foods and maybe they bought like this coffee brand, like, hey, maybe they're buying coffee, so they need this thing to go with it, right? So it's kind of like marrying the offline to the online, and I didn't know that was possible. I mean, before, but it's just some of the new stuff, exciting things that we're seeing. I mean, it's mind blowing, guys. So if you haven't checked out Ritu's session, highly recommend that. And Liran's director of marketing mentor session talking about sponsor brands also walks through all of that as well. So Emma, I wanted to ask you, you live in the copywriting world, right? And then we have Ritu and Liran in the PPC world. Like, where are they intersecting? How does PPC relate to copywriting? I mean, with all of the search terms and all of that, how can we find the intersection between these two? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, and I need to run out in a minute, so I
Okay.
will answer this question from my perspective, and then I will hand it off to Liran and Ritu, because I think it's really one of those things of like they go hand in hand. It's a cycle, right? And so they work together, and trying to separate them out and treating them as two completely separate things is really only to your folly, because the PPC is what's actually catching the attention and getting that person in. So you have to understand what kind of, what was this person searching when they saw this ad and then clicked into the listing. So the journey is starting before they ever get into your listing. If you're thinking of listing optimization only as, okay, they're on the page, then you're missing out on a huge opportunity, whether it's from the advertising side or even just from the organic side, and not really considering how your listing is appearing when it's just in the search results on its own. You want to be really taking a step back and understanding that whole customer journey, so that by the time they're getting to your page, you know what they're looking for. Like if we go back to this chapstick, right? Like even, okay, a few years ago, if you would have just written beeswax chapstick or sustainable chapstick or whatever, that probably would have been enough to give you very few options. But now both of those categories themselves are going to be flooded. So the things that were making you unique are becoming less and less of the things that you can really hold on to. So you're needing to go narrower and narrower with your focus in a certain degree in order to be able to make sure that you are still standing out and providing something unique. Because ultimately, if you see a bunch of things and they all look the same, and then you see something else that looks different, your eyes are going to go to the thing that looks different. And so having all of that in mind, and making sure that also whatever you're doing with your advertising is aligned with how you're representing your product. Because if you're sort of like, presenting the product in one way in with your ad copy, and then you get into the listing and it's something totally different, that's also cause for concern. I'm sure both Ritu and Liran have way more to add to this from the PPC side, but that's my take on things.
Thank you so much, Emma. And very quickly, I know you got to run, so I just wanted to highlight the bonus that you prepared for everybody at the summit. Emma has very generously offered a free Amazon listing analysis at the link below in the chat. So I highly recommend you guys check that out. Any parting words, Emma, before you run? The
Oh
best way
gosh.
to connect. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, best way to connect, our website, marketingbyemma.com. I'm just so happy to be a part of this summit again, Gary. You're always taking things up a notch and making sure that the content is fantastic. I've loved sitting in this chat, just learning so much from Ritu and Liran today, and I'm eager to tune into all the other presentations that I'm able to catch to, hone my chops on the things that I don't spend all day doing, because I know listings really well, and I know, the branding and copy sphere of things, but when it comes to the ins and outs of PPC, I'm very much, beginner level. So
yeah, I mean, this is kind of like your Amazon Seller University, guys. So you have like Professor Emma on the copywriting, you have Professors Liran and Ritu here, and you might sleep through some of the other classes, but hey, you can pick and choose, right? That's the beauty of this. So thank you again, Emma. I know you got to run. So have a great day. We'll see you guys. Well, we'll see you later on this week, hopefully at the summit. All right.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right. Excellent.
Gary, one thing Emma said was listing optimization comes before advertising, right? Because you don't want to send a bunch of traffic to a bad listing, and you want to differentiate your listing from competitors. I would say before listing optimization comes product differentiation, right? Because you can go and try to write a listing and highlight something about your product that maybe somebody else isn't highlighting, but the reality could be that they're both the same product. You just say, you wrote water resistance and they didn't include water resistance, but both products are essentially the same. I mean, that's one way to do it, right? But the better way to do it is to start with the differentiation before listing optimization when you're actually creating your product, so that you can have something different to say, so that people are not comparing you just on price to reviews, so that you can convert better, right? So the foundations of all this is really today having a product, I think, that can stand out and not just compete on price and reviews, because until Amazon changes the way they, or not until, but if ever Amazon changes the way they show their reviews, maybe it'll be different. But today so many pages have most of page one like above 5,000 reviews, that unless you're willing to, if you create a similar product, unless you're willing to lose money long enough until you become relevant, it's going to be difficult. So you either need to bully your way in with money, or create a unique product, or or add something additional, or change something where you're not just being compared on price and reviews. So talking about this baby stuff, right? I've been looking at buying stuff for the baby in the last couple weeks, and I bought a crib and a mattress, and their mattresses from about 50 $60 up to one brand that sells a mattress for about a crib mattress for like about $300 and something dollars. Why does this mattress sell for $300 something if there's Sealy and all these like known brands for $60-70? Well, this company says that theirs is breathable, and because their mattress is breathable, there is scientifically less of a chance that your child can suffocate on the, it's been proven, right? There's 17 times less chance that your child can suffocate, because if they sleep head first, somebody wrote a review, their child sleeps head first, and because it's breathable, obviously they don't suffocate, right? And they were able to, and again, what are the actual chances that if I buy a Sealy for $70, like, something will happen, right? It's probably very, very minimal, unless you actually have a real condition. But they've taken this, some science, made the product a little bit different, and then they're using that. You can sell based on many different things. They're selling based on this like fear and security, right? Which parents have, obviously, if you're talking about a life of a human being, and people are willing to spend the $300 because it can be the difference between life and death. Is it really? I don't know, but it has really great reviews and it's $300 mattress. didn't buy that mattress because I didn't feel I felt it's a little gimmicky. But the point is, they actually made the product different. It is more breathable, let's say, than the other products out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they created a product, and it doesn't really matter if they have 1,000 reviews and somebody else has 20,000, or if they have 300 reviews, right? They created a totally different product. And what's interesting also is they went premium. That's another thing you could do in markets, right? There's so many people competing on price on Amazon, $20, $25. If you came in at 50, could you win a certain amount of the market, that by making something premium? And I feel like there's not as much premium products on Amazon. Everyone's going kind of for the middle, the average quality product. And then you could take those whole food people who spend more money on their, I'm one of those who spends more money and wants to buy.
They call it whole paycheck, don't they?
Yeah, exactly. And then target them with the SP maybe because they're buying, they're already buying, premium products essentially. But, there's still plenty of opportunity, but you have to be much better today than you were 2 years ago, and 2 years from now you have to be much better than you are today. It's just the way things go.
Yeah, 100%. And I really feel like what you said about product differentiation and really diving down into kind of like the buying intent. So I really wanted to highlight Sharon Evans' session earlier today. I wish she could join us, but I think it's like some weird, some ungodly hour in Israel right now.
Yeah.
But she talked exactly about this, like really getting into the mind of your buyer, like the buyer avatar. And she used examples like in Japan there's kind of like this craze called kawaii, or like really like people into like really cute things, like these like pink things. And she said like in terms of garbage bags, like all you see are black garbage bags or white garbage bags, but there's like people that are into that. So if you can get into that, that could be one way to differentiate. You're not just like trying to create demand out of thin air, but there are these pockets of opportunity. So going to what Liran said about parents, their fear of their baby suffocating, and I guess I'm a young parent as well, right? I've read through all those reports about babies suffocating, if they accidentally turn over. So I think a lot of if you get into the mind of your customers that and identify ways to identify their pain points, their fears, how your product can solve those fears. I think that's an additional way that you can really differentiate. So that's a really great point. And talking about pricing as well, I mean, we cover that in day 4 profitability. I don't have time to get into that, but agree, that can really unlock a lot of profit, and then that could go back into your ad spend budget, right? So it could give you more room to play with. So so really great points, Liran. Ritu, what do you think? I mean, in terms of this whole interrelatedness between the listing, the copywriting, and the PPC.
Right, and I think I would like to go back to the basics, of knowing that Amazon is a flywheel, right? The ad side of things and the listing side of things are interrelated. Early signs of, let's say you have a new product launch and Amazon already knows what your keywords are, right? They kind of show you, even through the impression share report, which keywords you're relevant for, and those keywords may or may not be present on your listing, but because of their machine learning, their algorithms, they kind of know that this kind of word is associated with these other kind of words. And so I just want to say that, let's not forget the interrelationship between the words that you're actually, picked, the ones that you've chosen and picked for your listing, and what actually goes into advertising, and then closing that loop. There's very few people that I know who do a good job of keeping that process alive, because it's a lot of work, right? You set up your PPC and you hope that you don't have to work on it, but that's not the case. Like, it's an ongoing, process of maintaining things. So I think just want to, call people's attention to the fact that there's processes that you could be, implementing in your organization that actually do bring in the discipline of picking up words that are actually converting in your PPC and bringing them back over to your listing. We've had a few kind of products that just weren't moving, right? There's no organic movement. There's some PPC, but there's some mismatch there that it's not kind of taking off, right? And but somehow we got some insights from our PPC data saying that there's this type of compatibility that this product is actually great for, and we hadn't highlighted that on that listing. So we did what Liran was suggesting, which is to kind of give it a different angle, and we just redid our we redid the listing with that in focus. And so it's been really amazing how that product actually took off. And those sorts of things can actually save products that haven't moved for a while, and it can actually enhance products that are doing well. So I guess just knowing that there is this loop that's got to be filled, and you've got to have processes in place to kind of fill that gap and make it complete.
Excellent. Yeah, I feel that this is so critical. It is a flywheel. I mean, in terms of the product launch, seven figure seller Chris Rawlings said that. I mean, the PPC launch. I mean, the goal is actually to, it's not profit. It's to you want to launch that product, you want to rank that product so it can benefit you organically, right? So it's really hand in hand right now. It's not like you're just trying to get sales just based on your PPC. No, it's a flywheel, like Ritu said, right? It's going to boost your organic and it's going to help your PPC, and then it just amplifies that. So I don't want to get too far in the weeds of that. I mean, it is a little technical, but let's switch gears a little bit. We just have a couple minutes remaining, and a quick shout out to our friend Sharon Evans. She is in the audience, and she clarified, I think it's 3 a.m. over there. So thanks for staying up, Sharon. And she says her example was how you can repurpose a product like a pink garbage bin and sell it in the kawaii niche and build it up as a kawaii aesthetics product and not target the garbage keywords at all, right? So yeah, great example. Highly recommend you guys check that out. And then she says Mazel Tov, Liran Hirschkorn. So good stuff, guys. And how about switching gears a little bit? We talked a little bit about what's working right now with the new stuff. What's not working anymore from your perspectives? Like, let's say in PPC.
That's a good question. I would I guess take it broader as far as like what's not working, maybe outside of PPC. I would say that obviously rebates were taken away last year, and I'm sure there's still black hat obviously things going on. I sometimes see listings that are ranking and there's no way I can figure out how, and I believe some of that is black hat. But I would say that I think the mindset of the sellers starting to shift, or a lot of the sellers starting to shift from those kind of rebate tactics to really like more white hat methods, like listing optimization, like product differentiation, like advertising, like outside traffic, right? Like real marketing. Influencer marketing is something we're focusing on as well, and bringing in that outside traffic. So I would say it's Amazon 2013 till 2020. It's kind of like a lot of tactics, and that it's a little bit shifting now to more branding, better creative, better products, better marketing, better business running, and that's really where I think you need to you need to focus on. As far as PPC, everything can work with PPC depending on your objectives. The things that don't work are the things that probably the same things that didn't work a few years ago, right? I mean, targeting keywords that aren't relevant, spending too much money on your auto and not bringing things into manual where you have more control, putting too many keywords in one campaign, not segmenting things properly, and having the right campaign structure, not naming things properly, not organizing things, not using the ad types that you have in testing. Those are all the things that become important. And I agree as far as like the flywheel. Amazon is really the only advertising platform that has that flywheel effect, right? Your Google ads will not drive you better in the Google organic rankings, right? But Amazon is kind of a unique platform where your Amazon advertising can drive you up into, you know, the platform. That's why it's grown so much. That's why, like you said, 31 billion. It's the first time I think Amazon surpassed YouTube for advertising dollars. Which is huge considering, mainly you can target physical products. You could do some non-physical products with DSP, but mainly physical products, which is not as broad as what you could target on YouTube or Facebook or Google, which is pretty amazing. And I would say, cost per click has gone up, but I would say there's a good reason for that. The market dictates cost per click, not Amazon. Now, Amazon can dictate putting 6 ads at the top where it becomes more important and you have to do it. And they're pushing people to have to do it more than you had to. When I started on Amazon, there may be 4 ads on the entire page. Now there's at least 4 at the top, and 10 plus on the page. But it was just super cheap to advertise on Amazon. And now it's kind of caught up to it. And it's driven by the market. And so people are paying it, and obviously it's working for them, or they wouldn't pay it, right? It's giving them some benefit. Might not be profitable on that sale, but it's giving you the organic, it's giving you that customer, and the ability to sell more to them, or to cross-sell additional products, or build a list off the back of Amazon. So I would just say, cost per click is basically catching up to the other platforms, and it's still cheaper with a much higher conversion intent on Amazon, right, than any other platform. If you're on Facebook and seeing an ad, that's disrupting you. If you're on Amazon seeing an ad, you're there to buy. So, basically it's market forces that are kind of catching up with Amazon. There's still great opportunities. And I would say, if you don't have the budgets to go in on a niche and compete in the US, go to other markets. Look at Australia, look at UK and Germany and France, Italy, Spain, Canada, and some of the newer markets in Europe. Go there if you don't have the budgets to compete in certain niche in the US market, because those markets are where Amazon was 5 or 6 years ago, and are growing really fast. Europe is growing very, very fast, and you see the aggregators like going there and shifting there. And I think one of the biggest ones, Berlin Brands Group, is based there. They're one of the top ones, right? Ratio is at the top, and probably in terms of raised money, and then you have a couple others, including some European ones that have raised a lot of money, and they're there for a reason, because it's a more of a blue ocean than the US market is. So just consider, where's the best place for you to also like launch a brand or launch a new product.
Excellent. Yeah, I hear a baby crying in the background, so I hope everything is okay over there.
Yeah, everything is okay.
Okay.
About every hour we get an alarm now, so
Yeah. Okay. Dad life. Excellent. And Ritu, from your perspective, what do you see that isn't working as anymore, or not as working as well now than before?
Yeah, I think the simplicity of advertising is not working anymore. Like, there was a time when you could say that you just need a few auto campaigns and a few manual campaigns and you're done. No longer. I mean, most of our launches, we start with 30 to 40 campaigns per ASIN, and that's just the bare minimum, because we want to cover like all the different ad types. So I think the general advice out there is to go the simple route, which is first set up an auto, then discover keywords, then put them into manual and so on. I kind of disagree with that approach, because it's outdated. It's outdated because you're putting all your I guess you're amplifying your risk by going after just keyword-based targeting, and the keyword market is very expensive. Like, keywords are the most expensive, and I generally recommend that people start with all different ad types and then let it run for a couple of weeks and see where you're getting traction. It's not necessary anymore that your sponsored product keyword targeting ads are the ones that are going to take off. You might see some interesting conversions happening through sponsored display because of the placements you get there, or with video. I've seen new launches with video ads where the video just takes off and everything else is picking up slowly, but the video ads is just like. So I think assuming that there's only 1 or 2 ad types that you need at launch and that later on you will catch up is a mistake, I think. That doesn't work anymore, because you never know how crowded a market is, and once you kind of launch your campaigns, different types of campaigns, that's when you actually get the data back, and you want to follow the data. You want to be able to read it and say, okay, this is where I double down. And I've helped a lot of people actually move away from campaign types that aren't working and focus and double down on the budgets where they are working. So I think, again, it would be a mistake to kind of go the simple route and not look at all the, let's say, reports that Amazon is providing to kind of maximize your output. Because if you do those things, then you're ahead, and you can actually you can have substantial sales if you kind of follow all the data that Amazon provides and have a way to process them.
Excellent.
I'll add a couple of things. One, what's not working is emails you get from Amazon about let me optimize your ads. I don't recommend you do that. They send you recommendations. It's they don't know anything about your goals or whatever, right? Like it's not a good idea. I wouldn't implement that. And definitely what Ritu is saying. We've probably in the last couple of years, I've personally sat in on hundreds of interviews of advertising managers, and we actually have a test before you even interview with us, and we ask questions, a lot of questions and testing. And when we get somebody we ask them like, how do you do your PPC and like, what's your strategy? How do you start, etc. And they say, well, I run an auto campaign for 2 weeks and then I bring in the keywords. We don't even, that's it. Like the test ended, you failed. It's a lazy approach and there's no reason for it either, because you want to tell the Amazon algorithm early on what keywords you are relevant for, instead of trying to let Amazon figure it out, right? So that's why on launch we have a very specific approach, which is actually mostly like exact match, because we want to feed Amazon what the relevant keywords are. We'll run some auto, but we run a lot of exact match very aggressively at launch, and then 4 weeks in we'll add other match types, etc. But you want to actually negate all the keywords, all those manual keywords based on keyword research and using tools like Cerebro. We use Data Dive to understand the relevant keywords and actually negate them from auto right off the bat, because you have the least amount of control in auto. And again, you have a lot of irrelevant things there that are going to be driving your relevancy. Instead, you want to be very specific about it and very tactical about your approach to it. And one of the things we see a lot when we look at accounts is 50%, 60% of the spend coming from auto campaigns, and immediately I know there's like tremendous amount of opportunity, because you just have very limited control. And so I would definitely recommend the keywords that are in your auto, or the conversions from your auto. Either make a rule for yourself, or if you're using tools, if you have our general guideline is like 2 conversions from a search term in auto, we move it over to manual, we negate it in the auto. But also all the keyword research that we do early on, we negate that off the bat in the auto campaign, because we want the control. We want to have the control in the manual. So you shouldn't be afraid of manual. A lot of people say start with auto because they're afraid of manual. You should be afraid of auto. You really want to dictate to the algorithm, because you'll see, and this, you'll see a lot of irrelevant things in your auto campaign. And also very specifically with sponsored brands on broad match, Amazon takes a lot of leeway in terms of the actual keywords based search terms that they'll show your ad for, because it's not the same. Broad match on sponsored products not the same as broad match on sponsored brands. And so what we do in another piece of advice is, I would say either don't do broad match for sponsored brand, do phrase and exact, or what we do is we put a plus sign in front of every word on the broad match, which is a broad match modifier. And what a broad match modifier does is it forces that word to be part of the search terms that show up, which happens naturally on sponsored products, but does not happen naturally on sponsored brand. And the reason is because Amazon sees sponsored brands as a brand awareness play. So they see it as top of funnel. But the reality is most sellers want to get an ROI off those ads, the same as they do off sponsored products. And so I recommend broad match modifier for sponsored brands. Or again, if you want to be more conservative, start with just exact and phrase. And then make sure you're harvesting keywords, negating an auto, segmenting campaigns out properly. The reason why, PPC is one of the best levers you have to pull. With, again, once you have an optimized listing, PPC is one of the main levers you have to pull. And it's really important to maximize it, because that's where you're going to be spending most of your marketing dollars for Amazon.
Yeah, I just want to add to the broad match modifier. We also use that for video ads. That's one of the better versions of a broad match, because it requires those words that have a plus sign in front of them to be present in the actual buyer search. And so it's kind of got this dual purpose of doing the broad match, but then also negating on, side by side anything that is not on point and is not exactly matched to that search term.
Excellent. I love identifying these nuggets, and it's like, Liran's doing it and Ritu's doing it, and it's kind of like, that's like, a flag, right? So you guys definitely should be doing broad match modifier. I wish we had more time, guys. We're over time. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So as we close out, what is the best way to connect with you guys? Liran, best way to connect?
Incrementumdigital.com or e-commerce mindset podcast to reach out to us, or to follow the podcast, or just follow me on any social media channel, mostly Facebook and LinkedIn.
Excellent. And Ritu, what's the best way to connect?
Yeah, so I'm active on LinkedIn. So if they can just follow me on LinkedIn, Ritu Java, my full name. And also you can reach us on ppcninja.com. Either one of them.
And thank you, Gary, winner of the seller poll for Seven Figure Seller Summit. Appreciate you having me on, and good to mastermind here with Ritu as well.
Yeah,
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your help. So thank you, Ritu. Thank you, Liran. Thanks to Emma also for joining. Thank you everybody for watching. Also, I'd like to quickly highlight that Ritu is offering a free bonus to everyone at the summit, a 4-week mastermind program. If you want to really better deepen your understanding of PPC, it's for more experienced sellers. You can sign up at the link below, ppcninja.com/PPC mastermind. All right. And last but not least, I thank everybody for watching, and I wanted to mention that we do have an optional all access pass. For a small fee, you can unlock all of the sessions. You have unlimited access. So maybe if you missed out on something from day one, maybe Brandon Young's section, he's walking through Data Dive, which is one of the biggest tools that, everyone's using, or, Chris Rawlings, his PPC launch strategy, you can unlock that as well. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out about that. You can pick up your all access pass at sevenfiguresellersummit.com/order. And I know that many speakers like Liran are generously offering to do a bonus live AMA about PPC over Zoom. So that could be super valuable for many of you to really, go in depth in PPC beyond what we just did today. So thank you guys for that. And with that, we're over time. So any last words, parting words, Liran?
No parting words, but if you're at Prosper show, we'll be there as well. So if you're there, hope to see you there, or maybe at another event this year.
Excellent. And Ritu, any parting words?
So definitely keep optimizing and keep looking for opportunities in your PPC. There's lots that is lying on the table, and I'm also going to be at Prosper. I'm doing a workshop there, so if anybody's there, come up and say hi. I'd love to connect. Thanks.
Excellent. And so thank you everybody for watching. And tomorrow we will be covering scaling your business to 7 figures. We're going to kick things off with Tim Jordan talking about Walmart. We're also going to cover global growth through capital management and cash flow, unlock new market opportunities in the international markets with Yana. Liran mentioned that, hey, if it's too competitive, PPC in US, maybe consider EU. Sellers versus brands, how each side beats each other. Amazon Seller Central hacks, how to deal with Amazon Seller Central customer service, and also sourcing from Mexico, top 5 best practices. So I hope to see you guys tomorrow, and thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks again, Ritu and Liran and Emma. We will see you guys at the next session. Bye, everyone.
That's good. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.